Welcome in to B-Rock and the Q today. And today we're going to honor all the fine graduates over at the Edgerton schools. And with me today are 4 valedictorians, plus a couple of folks who helped make all this thing work as well. With me is Kermit Reilly and John Marilot. We'll start with you two. Kermit, first of all, great to have you here.
Thanks, Jim. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Over the weekend, you had your graduation. That had to be a little bit of a difficult situation.
It was. We didn't know for sure, what we're going to be allowed to do based on what the governor's office was telling us at any given time, and so we tried to make the best of it. Hats off to Mrs. Marilyn and Mr. Wolf, our high school principal, and all the people that helped in that event. But we just tried to make the best possible graduation ceremony as we could for the kids.
Mrs. Marilyn, you are the class advisor. This has had to be kind of a difficult year, I would think, to say the least.
It's been kind of crazy. We were just getting rolling and making all the details and the plans work when all of a sudden everybody was sent home. So once we knew that we could do something, the admin and I put together a plan. We talked to our class officers, and we just went rolling from there. So
how did the ceremony go on Sunday?
Ceremony went well. We had some audio issues, but other than that, I thought it went well. The kids hadn't practiced. Normally there's a graduation practice, but I think they actually read directions this time, and so things went pretty smoothly when it went through. Like I said, we had 4 valedictorians. They gave awesome speeches. Afterwards, all the graduates went through town doing a parade, and I've heard a lot of positive feedback from that, of a lot of town support for these kids.
Yeah, Kermit, I think that is the one thing we've seen, if we've seen anything around our area right now. The residents of the different towns have really come out to support these young folks.
They really have, especially knowing what the seniors have went through, being there last year. We think of several things that would describe this class, that they have the ability to persevere and get through difficult situations. I kind of labeled them the overcomers because of the things that they've had to overcome in their career. But this year has been an opportunity for them to kind of define themselves as young men and women based on the things they've had to endure. But our community has gotten behind them in a lot of different ways, regarding the support for this class. And it was really, really notable on Sunday as we went through the ceremony.
John, it had to be a difficult situation if you didn't have the ability to really practice this, because was this a typical drive-through type graduation that we've seen around the area?
Not necessarily a drive-through. I would call it more of a drive-in. The cars all came in and they had assigned parking spots. Once the cars were there, they did not move. The kids were allowed to get out of their vehicles and then proceed up to the stage to get their diplomas, to give their speeches. So we didn't have, like, I know some of the schools were driving up to the stage. Our cars all stayed put once they arrived, but the students were allowed to get out and go, do their processional across the stage to get their diplomas as they normally would.
Wow. Kermit, what a situation. Did you ever imagine that you would ever get to a graduation like this one?
No, not at all. We, obviously we didn't have any idea that we'd have to be dealing with, any of this as a graduation, let alone, online learning when it came time to closing schools, March 13th, when we heard that announcement from the Governor DeWine's office. So it's been a learning as you go mentality ever since then. But it is a credit to what an amazing staff that we have at Edgerton. The teamwork and the team approach was very evident in everything that we have done, from online instruction to working through the graduation process with Mrs. Marilyn. It's just been phenomenal to see the district in general come together for the good.
Wow. Mrs. Marilyn, tell me a little bit about, with you being the class advisor, okay, everything was rolling, I would think, relatively smooth until about March. And then the advising had to go on a red alert, I would think.
Well, at first, honestly, it all just kind of came to a standstill because we didn't really know if we were going to go back, when we were going to go back. And even, I think it was probably the beginning of May before we actually sat down and started to really, okay, what kind of plan can we put together? And like I said, we had a Zoom meeting with Mr. Reilly and our principal, Mr. Wolf, and we had made some decisions, and I turned around and made a Zoom meeting with my class officers. Madison also happens to be the class president. So I made this meeting, and while I'm in a meeting with them, Mr. Reilly's calling me on the phone, making a change to something we had decided. And then a lot of it was just email communication. I mean, I had the Zoom meetings with the officers, and they helped me get information out to the students. And we just a lot of emails of gathering information and getting information out.
Kermit, I would have to think this probably changed direction several different times, didn't it, for the last couple of months?
Yeah, definitely, because we did not know whether we were going to be allowed to have a graduation at all. But we said early on, we committed as a district early on that there was anything that we could do regarding graduation or prom. And we talked about those as, being a couple big events that the upperclassmen, especially the seniors, look forward to, that we were going to try to do everything in our power to make that happen. So we've always been looking for those opportunities as they may open up, as we've heard from Columbus on what we were able to do. We did a lot of research with other districts on what they were doing, talked a lot to other district superintendents, and tried to be consistent with our county, not only Williams County, but even the 4-county area. Obviously we want the very best for our students, and that's what we've tried to do. Yeah,
no doubt. Kermit Reilly, the superintendent of schools in Edgerton, and also Mrs. John Marilot, who is the class advisor for the class of 2020. John, let's talk about these 4 people. If they're watching right now, if people are watching on our social media, they've seen 4 young faces below us that have just patiently been waiting at this point for their time as the old guy leads the conversation. Tell me about the 4 people that are below us right now on the screen, and give me a little setup as to who they are and why 4 valedictorians this year.
Well, these 4 have certainly earned it. We have Kaylee Miller, Madison Smith, Eric Groover, and Connor Thiel, all 4.0 students who have all strived to take, the tough classes, and they have worked hard. I had 2 of them for all 4 years in my Spanish classes, and the other 2 took 3 years of Spanish classes. Just top-notch students who work hard, are very dedicated, and they definitely deserved this. I mean, it wasn't an easy, like I said, first time. We believe in school history that there's 4 of them, and they all truly deserve it. They are a great group of kids.
How do you end up with 4? Is there a point schedule, or is there what are the criteria for becoming valedictorian at Edgerton?
Our criteria has changed a little bit, but for this class, I mean, it's basically, it's based on the 4.0. They all had the 4.0, and so
What Andy Briggle told me too is not only do they all have 4.0s, which is like he and my grade point put together, okay, they also have ACT and SAT scores that also are like his and mine times 2.
And they also all have earned honors diplomas. So they've all taken the upper level classes to earn them that honors diploma. They have that special recognition as well.
I need to take a break, guys. We got our introductions in. When we come back from commercial break here on B-Rock and the Q, we will get to know our graduates and our valedictorians here. We're celebrating graduation at Edgerton School District, and let's just start. Let's see. I got 4 of them sitting up there. They all have their little arrows through their voices. Let's go to Kaylee Miller to start with. Kaylee, did I hear you were also the president of the class? Is that what I heard?
No, that's Madison Smith.
That's Madison. Okay, well, see, I told you, I'm not the sharp knife in this drawer right now. Tell me a little bit about your senior year and how all this affected you once school let out over 2 months ago.
Yeah, I'm really involved. I'm in 6 different clubs, and it was really hard finding out that school would be closed, especially when they made the announcement that it was closed for the end of this school year, because all of our senior plans, like the most crucial months of our senior year, was taken away from us. And so that was really hard.
I bet it was. How was graduation the other day? Was it at least satisfying to be able to do what you did?
Yeah, absolutely. With the circumstances, it was nice to be able to celebrate in that fashion. It was a beautiful sunny day, and I really enjoyed it.
Madison Smith, you were the president of the class there, so I apologize for that. What was it like being first of all, the president of a class who had to suspend their senior year for a pandemic, and also being one of 4 valedictorians at Edgerton?
Yes, it was challenging. I mean, we had to completely stop all plans for graduation and then pick them back up and hurried up and threw together a ceremony real last minute. But we have a great staff at Edgerton, and I'm really glad that they did all they could to make sure that we had a graduation and that we had the best end of our senior year that we, with the circumstances that we could have imagined.
Yeah. Were you happy with the class as a whole being the president? I mean, you're the leader. Did they follow your lead this year, or are there maybe 3 people on the screen right now that we need to point out maybe some deficiencies in their class participation from the president's standpoint?
No, I have a great class and great classmates, and it's definitely bittersweet saying our goodbyes and graduating, but I know they're off to do bigger and better things out in the world.
No doubt. Eric Groover, the first male valedictorian candidate here this year. When they told you there were 3 other valedictorians this year, Eric, what was your response?
I thought it was awesome. It's not something that's never been seen before in Edgerton, so it's really cool to be able to share this because it's better when you go through it with others. So it's a good experience.
Is this a pretty close group, Eric, this senior class?
Absolutely. I mean, small town Edgerton, we see each other every day, and especially the 4 valedictorians, we all took the same upper level curriculum. So I'd say we're all pretty close.
Man, I'll tell you, what did you miss the most here with the shutdown?
I say the worst part for me was we didn't know that was going to be our last day until the very end of the day. So it would have just been better to end things on a better note. But overall, it went better than we could have hoped for online. The faculty did a great job transitioning us. So
fantastic. Connor Thiel, let's bring you into the conversation here right now. What did you miss here having this closed down for the last 2 months?
The track season. I was looking forward to that. That's something that I was preparing for, but I can't complain. Everybody had to deal with the same problems, so I'm just happy we got to get our graduation and get our diplomas, and the faculty, like Eric said, did a great job. And with the circumstances, I thought they did a really good job, and we got through it.
Mrs. Marilot, let's bring you back into the conversation for a minute. I saw you shake your head when I said something about how close is this class. So this must have been a pretty close bunch.
Yeah, this class is definitely one of our tighter knit classes that we've had. They all support each other. They all help each other out. They're just overall, I mean, we've got 4 of them at the top, but the whole class is a good class.
Connor, let's go back to you. We'll work our way from the bottom to the top. Where are you heading next year, and what's your plans for the future?
Trine University, majoring in civil engineering.
Wonderful school, and that engineering school over there is really top notch. What led you to go to Trine? Because of that?
Yeah, I knew that they were well known for engineering, and my brother went there and he enjoyed it, so I think it'll work out for me.
Oh, I think it'll work out wonderfully. I actually do the play-by-play for your competition up in Albion, Michigan. So I can root for you in the Trine Thunder until they play my Brits on a Saturday afternoon. How's that?
Sounds good.
I know there are several area students that are over at Angola there at Trine too, at a wonderful school. So great choice. Are you going to try to run track at all there or not?
No, I don't think so. Just focus on studies first.
I think that's always a smart idea. Eric Groover, same questions. Where are you heading next year, and what will your studies be?
I'm heading down to Columbus, Ohio State, majoring in biology with a pre-medical focus.
Wow. Okay. Now, if you run into a professor down there with the last name of Funderburg, just like the one you're seeing spelled on my screen, okay, and his name happens to be Nick, tell him I told you that you could get a real good grade. How's that?
That sounds like a plan to me.
He's actually a professor and a researcher down at Ohio State nowadays. So if you're heading into biology, he is a microbiologist extraordinaire. So he's the Funderburg that got all the brains, okay? And don't forget, it's the Ohio State University, but really it is the Ohio University down in Athens, because that's where I went to. How's that? Look at that head shaking. No, you're not agreeing.
Go Bucks.
I love it. Madison Smith, where are you heading for nursing?
I'm off to the University of Toledo.
Toledo. Okay. Wonderful school as well for nursing.
Yes.
Yeah. What's taking you to Toledo?
The University of Toledo has awesome facilities. They have a really cool simulation lab and cadaver lab, and they have the UTMC Medical Center right on campus, and I was really just drawn there.
Amazing. When I do the basketball games up in Albion, Michigan, we went down to the basement one time where the concessions are, and there was a sign to the cadaver lab there. And I had my videographer with me, and she will never go down to the basement ever again. She didn't like that sign, but I guess if you're going to do what you're going to do, that's really critical to have those kind of things at your fingertips. Kaylee Miller, where are you going next year, and what are you going to study?
Like Eric, I'm also going to The Ohio State University. I am majoring in neuroscience and minoring in Spanish with a pre-physician assistant track.
Wow. Okay. Well, if you run into a guy with the name of Funderburg, okay, he's a lot better looking and a lot younger than I am. Okay. You'll want to make sure that you tell him that his dad told him to give you a good grade. How's that? That'll get you through one quarter at least for Ohio State.
Okay.
Probably not get you very far though, because he's got a mind of his own. And he's a lot smarter than I am, so that makes it a little more difficult. Well, I'll tell you what, it is wonderful that you guys have had this kind of a year. I really would like to go back before I let you go and just kind of get maybe your thoughts as to now that you look back on the 4 years you spent and the 12 years really maybe you spent in the Edgerton School District. What is your favorite remembrances, Connor? We'll go down to Connor Theo. What do you remember? What are you going to take with you out of Edgerton?
Definitely our cross-country team, our regional appearances. It was more of a family than it was a team. So it was great to compete with those guys and create strong bonds with them and make a lot of memories that I'll definitely take on with me.
Madison, same question for you. What will you remember of your 12 years at Edgerton?
I think I'll most remember just being involved, whether it was in sports or clubs, and all the different relationships and different types of people and memories that I got to make.
Wow. Eric, the same question.
I'm with Connor on the cross-country team, but I also remember all the friends in the close class we had, so I'll miss it.
Kaylee Miller, you're the last one to answer the question.
The memory that sticks out the most to me was the 2019 Costa Rica and Panama trip. That was the most incredible experience ever. But like they said, I will also miss and remember our amazing class that we had.
What was that trip? Give me a little more definition about that Panama trip.
We went to Costa Rica for I think 6 or 7 days, and then we went to Panama for 3 days, and that was my first time ever on an airplane, so it was a really awesome experience.
Wow, that does sound like fun. Mrs. Marilot, what will you remember the most about this class?
Oh, what will I remember most about this class? Just their ability to fight through this. They kept working. They, like I said, they showed up. They did a great job on Sunday. They've done a great job the last 4 years. Actually, they all went, I took that trip, so they all went with me on that trip. So I had a lot of them go to that Costa Rica and Panama trip. So those trips stick out in my mind for about any class, so they'll kind of always stick with me for that. But yeah, they fought through.
What was the trip? What were you doing down in Costa Rica and Panama?
It's an educational tour. We take one every other year generally. And we did all sorts of things. We visited a school down there. We went whitewater rafting. We got to go snorkeling. We learned a lot about the countries themselves, a lot of history and culture of the countries, and be able to use their Spanish a little bit when they try to shop and go to restaurants.
How did they do?
They did well. And of course, these four, they did really well. But yes, they all learn a lot. It's really, it's one of the best things I like about my job. It's great to see how some of these kids grow when they take these foreign trips. You see some kids that are super shy and they come out a totally different kid. So it's a
That's amazing. That is amazing. Kermit, really, superintendent of schools, you always get the last word, buddy, because you're the top guy on the ladder. How's that?
Good or bad, right?
Yeah, you know, lucky you, right, to be on that top perch there all the time. Right. Give me your thoughts on this class and also this year in general as we're winding everything down.
I guess the couple words that come to mind when I think about this class is just their maturity and also the leadership that they've been able to exhibit. You know, we as educators, I spent a lot of years in the classroom as well, but we as educators work really hard to try to give them as much ownership as possible as we instruct, but also as we give them opportunities to lead, give them opportunities to learn. And this class especially has proven that to be true. And we see this on a daily basis with these students as they're involved in athletics, as they're involved with other clubs, whether they're involved with music, whatever it may be. We see this happening on a consistent basis. And this class, a small class of 50 kids, has shown that consistently. So definitely going to miss them, but we appreciate their leadership that they provided, not only to their own class, but also to the underclassmen, because these seniors have been the leaders of the building. This last year, the year didn't end like they wanted it to, obviously, but even in these struggles, even in the trials that they've had to go through, they've proven their leadership, and that was never more evident than it was on Sunday, as these four stood before their classmates and their families and just shared their ideals, shared their thoughts on what impact they've made and how Edgerton has impacted them. So very tight-knit community, very tight-knit class of kids, and we really appreciate their leadership.
Connor Theo, Miller, Madison Smith, Eric Gruber, thank you and congratulations and best of luck to you guys in the future. I'm sure one of these days I'm going to be Zoom conferencing you as well on something that you're doing in a future life. And we're going to say, remember when? Back in 2020 when we did that very first conference, and I'm looking forward to those times. So congratulations and good luck, and congratulations to all the folks at Edgerton, and thanks for being with me today.
Thanks, Jim.
That'll wrap up our program here today on the Q&B Rock. We're celebrating the graduation of the students at Edgerton Schools for 2020. The class of 2020 are moving on to bigger and better things.